Hey, welcome everybody. Brother Goodwin here, crossing the spotlight. Let me read a verse or two for you. I know last week, remember, we talked about Russia and Ezekiel 38 and some end time coming events that are getting ready to happen that lead right into the rapture. We're going to take up where we left off. We're going to talk about that again this week. I know many of you are waiting for program number 3, part 3 of my interview I did with Phil Hauser on the book of Revelation. We've got that. It's ready to go. But we really had to bump in and do some current event things here. So this is part 2 with Dr. Hiltabil and myself. He's sitting right here. And we got to jump into this again. We got to hit some more things we got to tell you about. But I promise next week we'll do part 3 of the interview I did at the fireplace, remember, at the cabin with Phil Hauser. Everyone has enjoyed those interviews. We've got the final one, part 3 for you. That'll be coming up next week, okay? So I promise we haven't forgot. It's coming. And because some of you have asked, hey, where's the third one? It's here. It's in the queue. It's just we had to bump the third one because of current things going on. Okay, so we're going to talk about Russia. We're going to talk about what's going on in China, Iran, Syria, Israel, maybe even what's going on in America. I don't know. That would take too long, though. But let me read a couple verses about this war that's coming with Russia. Now this, in chapter 39 of Ezekiel, this is kind of like after the battle here. Look what he says here in verse 9. They that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers and the bows and arrows and the handstaves and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years. Now remember last week we mentioned that. One of the reasons why we think this happens at the beginning of the tribulation is we just don't see this happening during the kingdom age. So I think that 7 years has to expire before Christ comes and sets up the kingdom. We could be wrong, but so he talks about that. He talks about burying the bodies for 7 months down in verse 12. 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying them, that they may cleanse the land. I don't see that happening during the kingdom age either. So, well, let's bring Dr. Hilt in and let's get into this. So we'll see you on the other camp. All right, Brother Goodwin here. Here's Dr. Hiltabil again. And we're going to discuss, once again, Doc, where we left off.
Yes.
We never even got to China last week.
No, not really. No.
And like we were talking before the show, that you were mentioning that really that's what everybody's thinking about right now is China. There's so much going on with China. Yeah. And in fact...
and our own government is admitting that China is now a power is greater than ours militarily.
And many of the leadership of our country are compromised.
Oh, yes, very much compromised with China. And,
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about China. There is a war coming up. The Bible talks about
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I think China, in the book of Revelation, I think China is the main leader of the king of the East that's going to be coming. But I don't think China's going to make that major final push for world domination. I think that's probably at the Battle of Armageddon. But definitely you can see that all of the players in the world and how they're responding to China and all of these things. You see every day in the news something between them and the Philippines, something between them and Japan, something between them. Even last week, they canceled all of the communications on that higher level with Australia.
Now, there's something about Taiwan, too.
Taiwan, they'll take Taiwan over. I mean, nobody's going to stop them.
I don't know if you know about this, but there's some chips or something that are made only in Taiwan that the world needs. Yes. And I heard them actually say, I forget who it was, somebody that's a conservative, pretty big, pretty high up. Mm-hmm. He said that if China does take over Taiwan, they'll have to destroy those laboratories.
It's sad
because they can't let China have that. Nope. But they said it's really serious because there's nowhere else that's producing these little chip things that are used in some pretty serious stuff.
China has acquired, usually by stealing it, the proprietary information of technology.
Yeah.
And that's what they're after.
Now, they have a part to play in Bible prophecy.
Yes.
But it seems to be at the end of the tribulation.
Seems to be to me.
The Bible talks about a 1 billion-man army, right?
Yes, and they have it.
And they have that. I mean,
And all of that's at the
12-year-old
all of
boys
that's
and
at the
girls
end of the tribulation. And I think personally, I think by that time the world has been through other wars. The Red Horse Rider, that's wars, and I think they're going to say, "Hey, this is our opportunity to go in and take all of that wealth of the Middle East." I don't think they're coming just for Israel. I think they're coming for the wealth of the Middle East. And in order to do that, they're going to have to battle the king of the West, which is the Antichrist. By then, I think the king of the North, which is Russia, will have recuperated to a certain degree.
Because he's not wiped out completely.
He's not wiped out. He's still got
one-sixth.
He's still got a sixth. Verse number 2 of chapter 39. He still has a sixth of his army. Well, that's a sixth of the army that was there. That doesn't necessarily mean all of his army.
And they'll be more hungry than they were before.
And so I believe the Battle of Armageddon is where God brings the four major powers: the king of the West, Antichrist; the king of the North, Russia; the king of the East is China. I think she'll have with her the Korean Peninsula and all of that. And then the king of the South, I'm convinced, is the Islamic Caliphate. They're all coming to the Jezreel Valley for a battle to see who really becomes the world dominant, only to see the King of Kings and Lord of Lords show up.
And the Bible talks about the Euphrates River
drying up.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, my wife and I were over there in 2017. Mm-hmm. And even the Dead Sea, they were talking about how low the Dead Sea was. The water's drying up. And of course, they're building dams and they're using water other places. So the Euphrates, they claim, already has a dam on it. They can shut that off and dry it up anytime they want. Now, whether it's symbolic or not, I don't know.
Of course, you got to understand the book of Revelation is to be understood by signs and symbols. So, but yes, physically these things. But it's obvious China's rebuilt the Silk Road. Why in the world would you build lanes that are 14 feet wide and the concrete's almost 20 inches thick? You don't need that just for commerce, but you would for moving heavy equipment.
So China's a threat, no doubt about that. They're a financial threat to the world. They're trying to take over the world currency. They're a threat to the scientific or computer stuff, that kind of stuff, whatever you call it.
And already, of course, we have a ministry in Uganda out of our church, and the last time I was over there, a brand new highway we were driving down. And they said, yeah, China built it for us. And every village, I'm not talking about the little villages, but the little towns, would have buildings here and buildings there, and on the side is the Chinese flag. And what they're doing, they're going all over Africa, and they're building things. So what they're doing, they're giving money to the leaders. The leaders are letting them take their natural resources. They don't care about their people. China is setting it up all over the world.
All right. Well, let's move on to Syria again here, because we talked about Syria last week a little bit, and the importance of it is that it's the
staging ground.
It's the doorway to the border of Israel.
Yes, it is.
And so,
because out of Israel, you got Lebanon up here, and so Syria is here, and what's standing between is the mountains of the north. We call them the Golan Heights.
Yeah,
it's the doorway.
There's serious leadership problems, has been for years, and there is again. So all the armies of the world are they're fighting it out to try to get control.
Especially everyone that's mentioned in Ezekiel 38. The major players are already right there.
Yeah, so it won't take long for Ezekiel 38 to happen when the time comes.
Of course, I personally believe that Isaiah 17, Jeremiah 49, and Psalms 83, I think that's a battle that's going to be a precursor, and because it has all of the Islamic nations right bordering Israel. And so I think that will have taken place, and they'll see, hey, this is the time for us to really knock Israel out.
Now, when this show airs, my articles that I'm going to read here will be a little over a week old, but they're pretty current here. This is from the Jerusalem Post, May the 6th, so it's a week or so from when this airs on television. It says this: the IDF carries out attacks on Hezbollah, on their outpost, Syrian reports. Syria. This is the second, because we talked about this last week, but this is a new one.
Oh,
this is another one.
These are major events.
This is the second consecutive night that Syria media reports an attack attributed to the IDF in Syria. The IDF carried out attacks against Hezbollah outposts near, I can't read this word, Quentra, on the Syrian border Wednesday night. On the Syrian border, my goodness, it's right there. You can see Israel. According to the Syrian reports cited by Israel media, this is the second consecutive night that this attack has happened. And so there's wars and rumors of wars. I realize not all this stuff is mentioned in the Bible, but it's leading towards something.
It's leading. All of these things are jockeying and getting things in place for it.
Now listen to this one. U.S.-Russia relations are now worse than they were during the Cold War era. A Russia top diplomat says. This is from May the 5th. This is the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. I don't know how I did on that. Or Sergio something, Lavrov. Anyway, Smith would have been better, but it's not Smith. But May the 5th, and the article's by someone named Ryan Morgan. Last week, Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs Sergei Lavrov said relations between the United States and Russia are now worse than they were during the Cold War. Now think about that.
And our president has created that.
Because this wasn't true when Trump was there. Now, Trump kept them at bay, but he was respectful, and they were respectful for each other. They respected each other.
Because they respect strength. Now they detect weakness.
They told Mr. Biden, don't cross that line,
and he didn't.
Or you'll be sorry. They wouldn't have never said that to Trump. And that line is not in Russia either.
No, it's not.
Head of the Russian state news agency, I won't read these names either, said during an April 28th interview with Lavrov, our relations with the United States are really HELL, he says. Wow. Personally, I don't recall them being at such a low ebb ever in our countries. What's going to happen next, he said. What is the possible scenario? You know where he's headed with that.
He's headed for it.
A conflict of some sort.
A conflict.
In my opinion, tension did run high during the Cold War, and there were numerous high-risk conflict situations, but there was also mutual respect. We were just talking about that.
Right.
I believe that is lacking. Now, this is the Russian guy talking.
That's right.
I believe the respect is lacking. Nothing good will come out of this unless the United States stops acting as a sovereign. He said, adding that if the U.S. refuses, we will be living in conditions of a Cold War or worse. And there's more there, but I won't read it. That's from...
and that's just one of many articles on that. We're in a serious situation.
So it's not just us conservatives that are not happy with our government. Some nations of the world.
The nations of the world, they see the weakness and there's no leadership.
Now, before I get to my next story here, I don't want to forget about the 3 CDs that we're offering. These are on your website,
WTTministries.com.
Okay, and or you can just go to the Crossing the Spotlight website and go to Dr. Hilton Whittle's bookstore, and these are there. A 3 CD set. You got one here called Nuclear Iran and the Bible. We're going to talk about them in just a second. Because they are in the Bible.
Yes, they are.
Persia. You got the rise of deception in the last days.
Oh my!
And boy, is that
it ever? Mainly talk about in that the deception that's within Christianity. Sad.
It is. Christians are.
Oh, it's sad.
It's unbelievable. And then, of course, the 9 future wars in the Bible
that are recorded in the Bible.
And give us a couple of them. I think.
Well, The one we're talking about, Ezekiel 38, is one of them.
Okay, that's one of the 9
Yeah.
wars.
And then there's going to be a war in heaven in the middle of the tribulation.
Yeah, Satan
course,
loses access.
Yeah,
That's
and then
Revelation 12.
And then the ninth and final war is the one that's not much of war, but it's at the end of the millennial reign.
Revelation 19, he comes
Yes.
on a white horse.
Well, that's Battle of Armageddon, but at the end of the millennial
oh,
reign,
you're talking about all
the
right.
final battle is at the end of the millennial reign when the
Okay.
devil is let loose for a little season to deceive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's another.
That's
short
another one. And so these I put them in chronological order as we find them
All
in the
right,
Bible.
and for only $20, which is cheap for 3 CDs. Yes. These are CDs, not DVDs.
Yeah.
You'll,
Audio.
You'll listen to these.
About an hour long each.
Okay, so the 3 CDs, free shipping, $20. Good deal, folks. I hope many of you have got them from last week. But if you didn't get any yet, they're on the website. They're on his website. They're on Crossing the Spotlight if you want to go there, or just go to his website directly and get them. All right, Doc. Let's go to the next thing. I got something about I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on it. This may not have anything to do with prophecy, but I think it does in a way because of the plagues of Egypt seem to be types of what's going to happen during the tribulation. And there was lice and stuff like that. So here's a story. Now this is dated, where is the date of this thing? Oh, here it is, May 5th. This is posted by Julie Celestial, May 5th. And she says, let's see, let me turn the page here. Swarms of locusts that invaded the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, and Syria, may reach Turkey next if the country does not take action. Well, I don't know what action to take. And do you put up big fans or something? How do you stop a swarm of locusts? An expert warned. As of May 3rd, the UN Food and Agricultural Organization said unusually strong southerly winds carried mature adult swarms to the Middle East countries. This is something we're not really familiar with over here.
No.
This is a big deal over there.
It is a big deal.
They'll eat a whole crop of...
I read a story where about 20 acres of crop within 15 minutes was gone.
I've seen some video of some of these people out there.
So that tells you famine is coming and already there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so...
And it is prophetic because one of the things in the tribulation by these 2 witnesses are going to be very similar things. And the Bible talks about some of the signs of the early days of the tribulation.
Yeah.
Is going to be famine.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
Yes.
So things are happening everywhere, not just here in America, but I think sometimes we got blinders on and we pay attention to what's going on here, not realizing that...
They don't realize... Dan, do you realize we're here in Illinois, where our studio is, and 5 states, Illinois is in the middle of it, 5 states provide almost half of the corn and soybeans that's grown in the entire world.
Wow.
5 states in America, in the Midwest here, provide unbelievable amount of food. And the western states are right now in a drought. To make the price of corn is twice what it was 6 months ago. Soybeans is now almost $16. Never been anything like that before.
Compared to what?
Compared to $8 and $9.
So doubled.
Double.
See, this hasn't caught up to us yet.
And so
that's not at the grocery store yet.
These are the 6 and 8 months from now, you're going to see double. In other words, in the grocery store, you're going to see things double.
Let me give a shout out to my nephew, Christopher Goodwin, up in the state of Maine, Pembroke, Maine. He owns a house. He builds houses.
Yeah.
Builds some of the finest houses in Washington County, Maine. I asked him the other day. He said 2x4s were $9 to $10 a piece.
It is unreal. My son owns a big sawmill operation, and it is unreal, the price. And
so the demand must be high. They must be begging them to pump out more.
Oh, he said, Dad, don't even answer. If he doesn't have an idea on who's calling, he doesn't even answer because he cannot even hardly meet the demand that he's already putting out, and it's an amazing amount of demand.
And it's going to catch up to us, and,
Yes.
and sooner than we think.
It is. By this fall.
Well, people think, well, it's no problem. I'll just go to Kroger. I'll
Yeah.
go to Walmart. I don't buy it from the farmer.
Yeah, but it originates there, and they don't realize how it works.
They don't realize. Well, now, you find out in a storm or an emergency, the shelves at the grocery store, it's happened several times.
Can you imagine?
Recently.
It's coming.
They say that there's a day or 2 days worth of supplies at Walmart and Kroger. And, that's it. If the trucks quit coming.
And can you imagine for those folks that are going to go through the tribulation period, can you imagine after all the wars, all of the highways and distribution centers and everything that's destroyed? So what we're seeing in what's getting ready to happen, if we're not soon into the rapture, I'm here to tell you, we're going to see the precursors of those things even in America.
I don't think our generation knows anything about hunger.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
There was a little bit in 1929, 30, but nothing compared to what's getting ready to happen.
No. And do you realize the greater majority of the people, in America in particular, live in big cities?
And they're already...
They wouldn't even know how to have a garden, and if they did, they couldn't because they don't have any place to have a garden.
No. And it takes too long to plant.
Yeah.
If you're starving, it's too late to plant a garden.
No, you gotta prepare. I mean, we raise big gardens in our farm, and so we're always prepared with food.
My wife and I are coming down.
That's
here.
right. We've got some food. Amen.
If we can find any gas,
we can it out of our gardens. We have good
and
food.
The gangs
Amen.
that are going to try to rob you on the way.
Raise our own meat and all. Yes.
Now, we can't imagine anything like this actually coming to America, but I think
it is. And
you and I differ a little bit on America in the end time, but I think we agree on this. I think America is going to dissolve. It's corrupt. But I think the heart of America, New York, Washington, D.C., the beast is there. I think that system is going to continue regardless what happens to the world around us.
They don't realize how much they need us.
Yeah.
We call it the flyover country, but I'm here to tell you, in the flyover country is where all of the food is grown.
Now, real quickly, we got a few more to hit here. Jared Kushner's in the news.
Oh, yeah. Abrahamic Accord.
This is May 5th again. Jared Kushner, senior advisor under President Trump, of course it's his son-in-law, will launch a new peace initiative to build on the access of the normalization of ties between Israel and some of the Arab and Muslim neighbors. He is founding the Abraham Accords Institute of Peace, or Institute for Peace, to work on deepening agreements Israel reached last year. It's interesting. It says in here that Biden is for this.
Oh, yeah.
However, they mentioned that while he's for this, he's pouring money
into Israel's enemies. Yes.
Their enemies.
Oh, yes.
Well, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
Well, everybody that surrounds him in his administration is anti-Israel.
Yeah. So there were some interesting things in this article, and
it is because they're solidifying and using it as to entice other nations.
And it's a
to get
precursor.
in it.
It's going to lead to the peace that's coming over there. Yeah. You and I did a show on the covenant. And we have a different opinion than most people.
But
when he says he confirms the covenant,
that's what it says in my Bible.
We believe it's the Abrahamic covenant from Genesis 12. Yeah.
But this is setting the stage for all of that.
Yeah, sure.
It's showing how it can be done.
All right, I'm trying to move a little faster here. I got Macron here. I don't know if we'll get to him though, but Emmanuel Macron, that's the French guy.
He's got a contender against him running. So
yeah, I mean. A lot of people think he's a possible antichrist.
Oh, I'm telling you,
but he could be gone tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Who knows?
Pompeo is in the
Yes.
news. This is from Joel Rosenberg, April 27th. So this is a little further back, just not a couple weeks ago. Pompeo blasts Biden, his weakness towards Iran.
Yep.
Warns that conditions could threaten Israel. Force the IDF to launch preemptive strikes. And that's Israel he's talking about. And we believe that they're already doing that. And John Kerry leaked some stuff.
John Kerry ought to be
treason.
Wait, anyway, we won't go there. I'm a Vietnam vet. So anyway.
Yeah.
But what you're talking
him and
about.
Woman, you could put them in a barrel at Niagara Falls, send them over or something.
Yeah, something like that. With a leaky bucket. But anyway, what he's talking about is the weakness and now encouraging the enemies of Israel, Israel's not going to have any choice. They're going to have to preemptively end the pursuit of the atomic process in Iran.
In an all-exclusive interview for All Israel News, I put these questions to former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who also served as the director of CIA in the Trump-Pence administration. While his tone was calm and diplomatic, Pompeo offered a blistering assessment of President Joe Biden's handling of Iran. What's more, he suggested the Biden team could inadvertently make a new war in the Middle East more likely.
Yeah.
Pompeo warned that Biden had hired the same characters to run his policy as the Obama administration.
Exact same bunch.
And that was a disaster.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Obama's the one that's pulling all the strings anyway.
Yeah.
But,
so what does all this have to do with anything anyway?
it has to do with the fact that the stage is set.
Exactly.
It's not setting, it's set.
Everything's ready for the Ezekiel 38.
Ezekiel
war.
38.
Seems like it's, I mean, they're right there. They're already in Syria. They're already
Everything is set. All it's going to take is, it's like setting up the dominoes. All you got to do is somebody has to reach over and knock the first one over, and so it's already set. We're not waiting for the stage. It's already set.
Let's say the rapture happened tonight. It's all ready to happen, isn't it?
It could. Everything is ready. The stage is set.
Yeah.
I tell folks in our meetings all the time, it's not a play where they pull the curtain over and change all the scenery out. No, the stage is gradually being set.
While we're drinking coffee.
While we're drinking, it's taking place, and while we're looking at all of the things that we're having our attention brought to in America, the real thing in the world is set, and we're about ready to be out here.
Because the United States media, most of it liberal, is controlling what everybody's thinking and fighting about.
Yeah. Because that's the information that you're getting.
Yeah.
Some of the information you read here, you wouldn't have found on any news outlet in America. That's why you and I both, we research and we read other news sources outside of what.
I watch nothing on television.
No.
I get my news
I don't
on
have
internet
one, so
sources.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not hooked up to the cable and dish.
We're not either.
I don't even listen.
I'm glad folks are so they can watch us, but
I listen to Tucker Carlson sometimes. I'll skim through and I'll find the parts. I listen to it after.
Once in a while I'll see a little YouTube clips.
And
that's
Tucker's
about it.
got some good stuff.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Well, we got about 20 seconds, Doc. So in 10 seconds, what do the folks need to take from this?
They need to understand how close we are. You need to be busy as a Christian sharing the gospel. If you're not saved, you need to get saved.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, we're out of time. Don't forget Phil Hauser. My interview with him will be on next week. Don't forget Doc's CDs. Order them. Well, until next time and until that war starts, keep your eyes on the skies.